more time. Here we go. Oh, it's a recording on this laptop, apparently, which is a good thing. We're joined by many people today on iSounds. It's iSounds 2, week 2. Seb, I'm going to go over to you first. We have had a brief introduction, but let's record some cool, positive hellos. So, Seb, how are you?
Okay, yeah.
What have you been up to?
Well, I've been watching football on Now TV.
Watching football on Now TV, probably
Yes.
enjoying plenty of goals, but not, I must say, not enjoying my salad bean. Refused my salad bean earlier, did Seb?
No, thank you. It's not safe.
Thanks, mate. We've got Kathy, who's worked out the tech side of everything. How you doing, Kathy?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Yes, very well. We saw John this morning. I think you work with John, is that right?
I do, yes. Yes.
Yeah, he was on this morning and he had a mascot. Have you seen this mascot?
Yeah, he changes it every day. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I can't wait to see it next week. It's going to be amazing. We've got Paul Emmett. Yes, it was. What you can, yeah. Paul, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm very well. Ready to go, and had a nice busy day so far. All good.
What's your busy day included? What have you been doing?
Well, mostly various social meetings online, and a lot of stuff to do with work as well. And I had a renewed bug for listening to music after last week. So.
That's what we're talking about, man. That's awesome. That's so cool. And of course, last week we were listening to lots of music together, finding out what we all like. Matt, I see you there, Matt, with the filing cabinet in the background. How you doing, Matt? Are you all right?
Yes, I'm good, thanks.
Marvelous stuff. And where are you joining us from today? Are you in
Top Cats?
Hey, nice one, man. Were you with us last week?
Yes.
You were with us last week. You were just further away.
I was with you last week. Yeah, I was.
You were in a bigger room last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were like in a gym hall or something. It was really echoey. I remember. It's good to hear you. Good to. Nice one, mate.
Did you email Dave Grohl? Did you email Dave Grohl?
Did I email Dave Grohl? No, last week, everyone, Matt said that he had quite a, well, he's a fan of Dave Grohl. No, I didn't email Dave Grohl, mate. I have met Dave Grohl, but I don't have his email address. Sorry. I'll try harder.
Try harder, mate.
I will do. Of course, we've got Jack and Laura in the room with us today, getting ready for iSounds. Are you all right, folks?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a look at the YouTube clip.
Oh, brilliant. It was sent out, yes?
Yeah, didn't we, Jack?
I just managed to ask in the end, yeah.
Yesterday we managed to get onto that.
Marvellous. Marvellous stuff. We've got Sarah with a cat there. Can't hear you, Sarah. I think the cat's muted your mic. Oh, there we go.
I'm muting because I've got a cat and heat at the moment.
Oh, hello. Are you doing all right? Brilliant. Good to see you.
Yeah, fine.
There he goes.
Looks like Don has worked out how to change his name from Huawei to Don. Don, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good stuff. Second week in a row, Don, with us. Can't wait to hear from you and what you're doing. James and Shanae are with us. James and Shanae, give us a big hello. Hello. Are you in a submarine underwater, James? It looks quite interesting. Can we see your ceiling again?
No.
Hello, mate. Good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
All good, mate. Great to see you, pal. Great to see you.
Yeah. Long time no see.
Indeed, it is indeed. Are you growing a moustache?
Yeah.
Very, very dapper. Very dapper indeed.
Good work, James. A big fan of Atash. Good work.
Yeah.
Of course, and also we've got a bit. I've got Big Man 3000.
Yep, my real name's Josh Deere. It's a pleasure to meet you. I decided to join this group because it looks good. The music, sound.
Well, Josh, thanks for joining us, mate. It's really
Welcome
good to
on
see
board,
you.
Josh. Yeah, welcome on board.
Thank you, Ed. That says it's your name, so
Yes,
I
that's
just
right.
call you by your name. Yeah.
Tell
Absolutely.
you what, absolutely, buddy. Yeah, and just as a thing, there we go. I'll just change my name as well. So there you are, John. My name's Josh, rather. My name's Jay. All right. So let's get going. So it's hello. It's good to see everyone. Let's get to the ball rolling. So Paul made a good point just a moment ago. So how do you put radio shows out? How do you do? We're going to get on to that. But first of all, let's take a look at some formats. Here we go.
Absolutely. So how we used to broadcast music, because Paul's saying, how do we do it nowadays? Let's look at the old ways of doing it. And I'm sure you've all got one of these lurking around. What's one of these, folks?
CD.
You've got it. So we would play our CDs, says nearly dropping it. We would play our CDs in the studio on a CD player and it would get broadcast. Simple as that. CDs became the choice, the number one choice midway through the 80s and became the staple thing for radios to broadcast using. But that's not the only format we've used in the radio over the years. I've got some others. I've got one here, which we're going to start to show our age here, folks. We're going to start to show our age. What have we got here, folks?
Tapes.
A tape. Now, do you think many people use these to broadcast much?
Sometimes.
I think they're coming back in fashion, sort of.
They have come back in fashion a bit, you're right. But the thing with them is they're not the greatest quality. They're really not great quality. But there was one DJ in particular that used to have a lot of tapes sent to him, so he used to play them. He used to get a lot of demos sent in. Anyone know who that was?
John Peel?
John Peel, indeed.
Yeah, I remember
the
him.
Suffolk legend, John Peel. Everyone used to send, all the bands sent him tapes. So tapes didn't get broadcast that often, but they got sometimes used for demos and bands sending them in. Matt, do you remember using tapes at all?
No.
No, you see, there you go. You're too young. You're too young, Matt. That's it. If I could dare ask, Matt, how old are you?
26.
DC 26. All you knew was the CDs, right? So tapes would be a thing of the past.
I was going to say, Ed.
Yeah.
We used in entertainment 25 years ago. We used those cassette tapes all the time. That's basically what we had. We had like a double deck, and we had to use, and vinyl records.
Well, you know, funny enough, you should say that. What have we got?
Yeah.
We have got another old format that we used to use all the time. As Don just mentioned, what are we looking at, Don?
A bit of plastic.
Absolutely.
Records.
A bit of vinyl. A bit of vinyl. There we go. Paul, there we go. Do you recognise the band, Paul?
Let's have a look. Talk, yeah, I remember them. They're around in the sort of early mid-80s. Yeah.
That's right. So
they did some good songs.
One of my favourite albums of all time. This one, "Colour of Spring." But look, this is something that we used to play all the time. But once again, Matt, have you ever used a piece of vinyl before?
Yes.
You have? Have you got a record player at home?
Yes.
You see, they are a bit trendy nowadays, aren't they, Matt?
Yeah, they are.
You strike me as a trendy kind of guy. So I think that's what's going on there. It's they've become kind of collector's items, haven't they? But we used to use those more of on a broadcasting level. So these are all things that we don't really see much in the studios anymore. Now I've got one for the really old people. Don't say what it is straight away if you know what it is. I've got something that we used to use for adverts. Okay. And it's one of these. Now, let you have a look at it.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
That looks like a hard drive.
You know, it does a little bit. It does look a bit like a hard drive. And in the same way that it has information on it, but not as much. Now, looking at the younger people in the room here, so I'm going to be polite here and say, Seb, do you know what that is? Any idea?
Nothing.
Not sure?
Hello.
the tricky one. Well, so Sarah, you there as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you recognise that at all?
No. I can't
No.
properly see it though. Hang on.
Okay.
I'll have a guess. I reckon games console or something.
You know, you know what? It does look a little bit like that because it is actually a cartridge.
Oh,
So
of course.
that would be it. And I'm sure, Jack, you're way too young to remember this as well. But this is actually, anyone know it?
Is it an 8-track cartridge? Is that what you...
It is indeed. Who said that?
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm late.
Hello, Martin.
Hello,
Hey,
Martin.
Hello, Martin.
Oh, got a bit caught
Just
up
in
there.
time for
Sorry
a
about that.
discussion on dead formats, Martin. There you go. Look at that. That is indeed an 8-track cartridge.
Oh.
And these were really popular in the 60s and 70s.
Mhm.
And we used them in radio for adverts because they were very simple. You literally just plug them in. You have a machine, you bang it in, it would play the advert and then stop. And so they would have them with a very limited reel inside. They've got a tape reel like a cassette inside, and they were used for adverts.
Brilliant. So we've just had a great chat together, folks, about some of the equipment in the studio. One of the things we were looking at, well, Jack, can you tell us one of the things we were looking at? I'm going to share screen now, and this might jog our memory. So Jack, over to you first, fella. What can you see?
Music desk.
Mixing desk, absolutely. It's a mixing desk. Yeah, well done, mate. And on here we've broken down all of the things that we could see. Matt, is there anything you remember about the mixing desk at all? What in particular? Buttons. Yeah.
Yes.
We've got little buttons, haven't we? Got all these things here, all these little controls, all of these buttons. But mainly, we're going to be looking at, I mean, one of the things up here, if I go up to the top, this is the one that we looked at with the inputs. So these cables up here were, can you remember what those were, folks? Josh, can you remember those? What were we plugging in order to hear everyone's voice?
Yes, I remember those. Those are leads, and they are plugged with earphones. You use earphones, and it is also part of voice recording. Microphone.
Well done, mate. Fantastic fella, well done. And we spotted here that on this one here on the far left, this one is all the way, it's not quite as loud as number 4, for instance. So we have people with different levels of voice in the studio. Does anyone else want to chip in and say what we've been looking at on the mixing desk here?
What are all the blue dials?
The blue dials. The blue dials in the middle. Yes.
Yeah.
They're all used to just. They're like really like a graphic equalizer, and would be used more for live instruments than anything else.
Yeah. So one of the other things we looked at was here, folks. Can you remember this?
Where the faders.
Yes, faders. And James, we are joined by James. James, we've seen you sealing already this afternoon, mate. I can see you say we've got a little issue with James's microphone. It's a bit quiet, but can you tell us something you can remember about the mixing desk, mate?
I remember the faders.
James remembers faders there, and of course, these ones representing the different carts, which we'll get to with the software in a moment. And these ones, of course, all being, well, they're all off, they're all down. Okay. So good work. Seb, is there anything you want to add as I catch you catching some air there?
You got different cars for different microphones.
Yes, the colour coordinated, just to help us out.
On my desk, you got different cars on cards. So you got a blue card, blue film card. That means your microphone is blue.
Oh yes, yes indeed. So there will be things that correspond, which is really cool. It's really awesome. And we were right in talking about the microphones. I actually opened the wrong thing there. Sorry, my bad. We were talking about microphones. Here we go, Seb. Let's have a look here. And an important thing to do is that when we start talking on the radio, where should these faders be when we start talking?
Up. Yeah, I was thinking up as well.
100%, they should be up, because if they're not, you're not going to hear anything. So well done, folks. There was one other thing that we looked at, and that was vitally important, because as Ed was saying a little while ago, if you get distortion on your recording, well, it's like burning the toast. You can't unburn the toast. So what was the other thing we looked at here, folks? Can you remember? What are we looking for in here? Let's have a look. Sorry, but my bad. Here we go. There we go. So what are we looking for here? If that was in the red, what's going to be happening to our sound?
Distorted.
It'll be distorted. It'll be horrible. It'll be that burnt toast that you can't have, because quite frankly, not enough cheese or Marmite's going to fix that one. We need it around about 0, ideally, if we can. So yeah, lots of stuff in the studio. That was a breakdown of the mixing desk. Has anyone else got anything to add? Matt, anything else to add there, mate?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Buttons. Main buttons.
Yeah, of course, there's some buttons as well, isn't there? And some of them, so a PFL as well, where we can listen before anyone else can hear it, which is really cool. Anything else there? Anyone else want to add anything?
Yeah. Here's a question. How about we're like live on air and we're transmitting? How would we know if we're actually being listened to? What if we've made a mistake somewhere and we think we're being heard and we're not?
As in, are you thinking just whether in case the studio's gone down?
Or one of my dials is in the wrong position. Is there going to be someone else around?
The reason you'd know from inside the studio is whenever you DJ, you always wear your headphones. The golden rule is whatever you can hear on your headphones is what they can hear at home. So if you've got your headphones on and you start broadcasting, but you can't hear your own voice in your headphones, then something's wrong. You've either forgotten to lift up a fader, or a plug's come out, or there's a problem with the desk. It's very rare it happens, but the most common thing is people have forgot to push the faders up.
Right.
That'll be why. But you monitor yourself. You always wear. Whenever you watch DJs, they always wear the headphones. They have to. It's a golden rule of radio. Whenever you broadcast, you wear your headphones so you can hear exactly what is being broadcast. Remember, whatever you can hear, they can hear. And if you can't hear yourself, they can't hear you either. So you'd monitor yourself. As for any problem, say for example, there's a problem with the studio. And it's not broadcasting at all, you should basically have someone in the office where the studio is, will be tuned into the radio station at all times. So if there's a problem, they'll let you know.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem at all.
Of course, Paul mentioning there on the chat's not recorded in the video as such. It says on air, there might have been an on-air blunder, like the famous one with Bruno Brooks on Radio 1, playing a song with swear words without realizing it. Now, of course, should have had the headphones on, and boom, down with that fader. And sorry, folks, let's talk about beans. And that would have quick, and everyone would have forgotten all about swearing. Thanks for all your feedback on that, folks. You'll be able to watch this video a little bit later when we send out the highlights of today. Well done. So Paul, you've got to shoot off a little bit early. How have you felt today's gone?
Well, I've really enjoyed it. It's nice to get a view of what the other happens the other side of the radio. It's been really interesting. Definitely something I'd like to do more on in the near future. So.
Oh, brilliant, mate. Good stuff. Well, thank you for coming on board, and I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, no problem.
Good work, man.
Thanks, and see everybody.
See you in a bit, mate.
Bye.
So we've had a look at the studio, what equipment we have, some of it more relevant than others, some of it more modern, some of it sort of seemingly more vintage. But Seb, I'm going to ask you first, mate. We've just been looking at this. What have we got here? Let's just have a recap. This is probably the most important thing we understand in the studio.
It's a wall where you find music.
It is.
Music and this sounds and radio pitch that you save before at the wall.
That's
Yes.
absolutely spot on. It is actually called, it said, remember the official name of it is the audio wall. So yes, spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on.
And it goes, and the wall, the music goes on wall, will go through your cart.
Yes. Oh well, we're getting a
Head-
masterclass
headphones.
here.
Yeah.
It's a masterclass, Seb. So yes, we've got this cart, haven't we? Here, Kathy, is there anything you could explain to us about the cart there?
It has several different functions. It has the play, the pause, the stop, listen and stop, and the eject.
Indeed, and well done. Thank you very much for that, Josh. What would you put in this cart? We'd load up one of these things from the audio wall. What would we do?
Music. I put in music.
Yeah, 100%. You know, whether it's your George Michaels or your Stevie Wonders, you could put. What would you load in there, just out of interest, Josh? You got. We're in the studio now. What are we all loading in? What track would you play?
Just anyone that I like, really. Say if I chose one right now, I put in a song from a band called Mint Royale, and it's a song it's a theme music they did called From Rush Home with Love. The theme's called.
Brilliant. So, you know, that's something I've not heard of that. So it could be something, you know, that is really mass popular, or something that Josh has listened to, which makes it a bit more niche. Great stuff, man. Really, really cool. There was some other stuff we looked at this afternoon, Jack and Laura. Can you go? Was there anything else we'd looked at? If I show you, go on. You all right? It's all right. I'll show you.
Yeah, we couldn't quite hear you because you cut out a bit.
No problem, man. I was just going to say that we looked at this piece of equipment as well. What would this control? Anyone else want to chip in?
Yeah.
Go on, Kathy.
Headphones.
Yep. So you might have 4 people in the studio, and our ears are all different sensitivities. If you've worked in music like Ed and I have for a while, we pretty much have to have it on full blast because our hearing's pretty shot these days. Of course, wear ear protection. But you know, some people are more sensitive. I've noticed younger people in particular, you have to, their headphones will want to be a lot quieter. So, is there anything else we looked at today, folks? Anything else? Matt?
Yes.
Was there anything else we had to look at that's in the studio?
Yes. Speakers.
What was that?
Speakers.
Looked at speakers, and through those speakers, we might, through our radio show, we might use one of these. Not so common these days. Look, as Ed was saying, it's the dust catcher.
CD player.
CD player, yeah. So you might have somebody that comes in and they say, I really want to play this CD. And of course it's good on in the studio to facilitate pretty much everyone. As we looked at formats earlier in the session, of course we can't go to the lengths of having cassette players and vinyl players, etc. But you know, CDs are still hanging on sometimes. And there was one other thing, and this probably has ultimately killed the CD, and it's of course the what have we got there? Something that's important for broadcasting our show. Computer. And the lovely blue thing here.
What?
And what's that connecting?
To anyone.
That's it. It connects us all to the internet. That's it.
It's that. And so as Ed was saying before, you know, with an FM, with FM radio, you'd have to have a mast somewhere connecting or, you know, transmitting, and you'd have to find a hill somewhere to send that signal to. Not so much today. So really good stuff. Thanks, guys. Awesome. And that is, wrapping up another iSounds in the afternoon. Really good time. I've had a great time. Ed, how have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, very much so. It'd be great being able to show people around virtually because I love showing people around our studios normally, but going virtually is the best thing we can do in 2020. So it's really good fun to be able to show that around and prepare ourselves for the day we can get back in the studio.
Absolutely. Now, of course, Ed and I have enjoyed having you guys here, but we want to go over to you folks, see what you thought. So, Matt, over to you first. Have you enjoyed looking around the radio studio, albeit virtually? Yeah. And what have you enjoyed about it, mate? What have you enjoyed?
Thanks for having me, Ed.
Hey, no problem. Well, I have to say, thanks for not going to that party that's going on next door.
I know. On the bingo.
That's the bingo, and you're here instead, mate. Is there anything else you've enjoyed about today, Matt?
Yeah.
What have you learned? About the mixer?
Have you enjoyed learning about the mixer and Myriad and audio wall, that sort of stuff, Matt?
Yeah.
Excellent. Good stuff, mate. Josh.
Yeah.
You've been multitasking. I think you've been sort of partaking, and very well, I must say. But what have you taken out of today? What have you got from today's session, mate?
Well, I'd say I've learned a hell of a lot more about the DJ radio station, and I have enjoyed this course.
Brilliant. And
fantastic.
We are really starting to get into it now. Of course, we are back next week as well, and over the next I think about 8 more weeks. So it's brilliant, excellent stuff. Jack and Laura, what about you guys? What have you enjoyed today?
We enjoyed going through the explanation of the music equipment.
Yes, some of which I think he's had to go early. We did get his feedback. Paul was saying how does it work, and hopefully you guys have got an idea as to how it works. And don't worry if you forget some of it. We'll keep going over various bits and pieces over the forthcoming weeks. So thanks, Jack. What about yourself, Laura? Have you enjoyed it?
Well, apart from learning about beans, we've also, it's been very interesting. I mean, I didn't know what any of the equipment looked like, to be honest. So it was a learning curve.
No, that's excellent. Thank you very much for your feedback. It's most valuable, but not quite. Does let everybody have a say? James, it's been great to see you again. It's been great to hear you again. But what have you thought about today, mate?
It's really, really interesting again. And thank you very much for organising it through Zoom.
No problem, mate. It's good to see you again. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. And we hopefully will get slicker at all these things as well. Seb, gives us some feedback, mate. What do you think?
Well, it's nice to be back and see you guys. And people who are there for ages. It's nice to be back and it's good that I can help 10 things out, what things are and how it works. Cause I know I've been doing this course for 3 times now.
Yes, and we learn a little bit more each time, and it's really cool. Really cool, Seb. Thanks for your feedback, mate. Hey?
Yeah, you.
What I'd like to say, though, is that nobody spotted it throughout the whole of the session. There was actually a tiny hair on the mixing console that I spotted earlier. No one spotted that, though. Sorry, you'll have to look harder next time. That was a little Easter egg, exactly. Kathy, do forgive me. I've been sat in the same chair for many hours. We have asked what you thought, haven't we? Or give us some feedback, please. No, go for it.
No, I'd like to say thank you because it's been, next time I listen to the radio, it will be, I understand things a little bit more. Well, a lot more actually. You explain things really well, both of you. So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. That's marvellous. Good to hear. Thank you very much. Of course, we'll be back next week. But yeah, let's Well, I'll end the video there, and then we can say our goodbyes. But let's do a pretend wave now, shall we? I won't. We're not going to end the call now, but let's all pretend to wave. Here we go. Here we go. It'll look great for the video. Thanks. Thanks to our sponsors as well. They're marvellous. Marvellous. See you.
Oh, they're great. The best.
And TK Maxx for the coffee. Thank you. Bye.